As we keep you up to date on the effects of Tropical Storm Bret throughout Trinidad and Tobago, Relief Officer and Acting Deputy Chief Executive Officer at the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Management, ODPM, Captain Neville Wint, has undertaken an aerial tour of affected areas in Trinidad following the passage of the tropical storm earlier today. Cnews Journalist Leeron Brumell is at the ODPM's headquarters in Tacarigua to give us an update of the ODPM's response. Good afternoon, Leeron.
Thank you, Karen. We're coming to you from the conference center of the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Management in Tacarigua. Sitting with me is the acting deputy CEO of the ODPM, Captain Neville Wint, and Anissa Hamilton is providing sign language support. We're going to get from the captain an update on the efforts of the ODPM and its agencies. Captain?
Pleasant good afternoon, brother. Pleasant good afternoon to Trinidad and Tobago. The aftermath of Tropical Storm Bret has allowed responding agencies to initiate the damage assessment of the impacted areas. So far we have received over 208 reports of varying impacts such as blown off roof, power outages, damaged poles, fallen trees, blocked roadways, homes impacted by flood waters, persons marooned in their homes, land slippages, and we are even at this point in time executing a rescue to persons who are trapped on the Tumpuna Road after the Carney River burst its banks in the San Rafael area. The agency who are at the National Emergency Operations Center are the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force, the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service, Ministry of Local Government, Ministry of Works and Infrastructure, the Ministry of Health, Public Utilities, including Ministry of, WASA, T&Tech, TSTT, and Ministry of Social Development, People and Social Development. We are presently getting the damage assessments from the 14 regional municipal corporations. The hardest hit is the Penal, DB, and within the Princess Town area. This morning I accompanied the Minister of National Security on an aerial reconnaissance on which we observe areas like Carson Field, Oropoon, San Rafael, the Mosquito Creek, Gasparillo, all impacted by water. At this point in time, we have areas up to 8 and 9 feet in water, and as low as sometimes in 6 inches. We are experiencing some difficulty in getting to persons because of the high water, and I wish to ask those affected persons to be patient as the first responders are trying to wade their way through, and in some cases waiting for the water to subside so they can get to them. And therefore I am mindful of the need for that urgent response, but however the safety also of our responders is critical. The Defense Force has mobilized 2 teams to assist the Penal Regional Corporation along with what I call inflatable boats, and we also have one presently deployed in the San Rafael area to assist those persons who are basically trapped on a vehicle in raging waters. So far that has been what the National Emergency Operations Center is coordinating. Once this damage assessment is completed, it then allows us to determine what are the needs, what are the requirements of the corporation, and what assistance can be rendered to the impacted population.
Captain, you talk about the damage assessment. When are you looking to have that damage assessment?
The damage assessment, it's already coming in, it's already in effect, and I'm hoping by tomorrow morning or by the latest 8 o'clock tonight, we have some common operating picture of what is happening, and therefore at first light our plan of action to bring relief and to get to those persons can be executed.
You spoke about having 208 reports. Is this just only in Trinidad, or this is across the board in Trinidad as well as Tobago?
This is in Trinidad and Tobago. Majority of it is within the south part of the island, and where you have places like San Francisco underwater, that sort of thing. So at present we still have aircrafts out doing reconnaissance to get that picture, and as we get that information, we are now in a position to respond. We are still trying to maintain international standards, and that's why I'm seeking the public assistance to be patient, because we have a 72-hour protocol which we have advertised and encourage the population to be aware of. At this point in time where we have very high waters, it's totally impossible for some relief and some level of response to get into those particular areas. We are presently in a low tide, so we are hoping that that water can even run off faster, which would allow vehicles and manpower to get into those areas to assist in cleaning, to assist in whatever is required to those areas.
Have you had any reports of injuries or deaths coming out of
fortunately, we have no reports of death or injury to any member of the population of Trinidad and Tobago.
You spoke also about some rivers overtopping its banks. Do you have a number of rivers overtopping, or is it just concentrated in one area?
Presently, the Carney River in the San Rafael area has overtopped. Most of the rivers are at their crest at this point in time, and therefore we are monitoring the water monitoring river levels with the Water Resource Agency. We expect that we will have some riverine flooding in the lower areas as the river moves towards the coast, but the rivers of those affected municipal corporation is being monitored at this point in time, and further advisory would be given if there's a need for persons to move to higher land. One of the other challenges we have, some residents have opted to remain where they are and therefore have not seek sheltering either at any of the shelters that are activated or at family residence.
How many persons do you have in shelters at this stage?
We have no one in shelters. All shelters have been activated, but at this point in time we have no registered member of the population in any of the shelters that have been activated for Tropical Storm Bret.
We talk about most of these issues happening in Trinidad, but what is the assessment coming in from Tobago at this stage?
The assessment coming in from Tobago is that they have dealt with the issues thus far. They have had collapsed structure, they have trees falling on homes, and reports of land slippages and down power lines. I must compliment the Trinidad and Tobago Electricity Commission and also TSTT for responding to those calls. We still have areas that are without telecommunication services. That is because of the flooded electrical stations and installations, which is also impacting WASA's capacity to deliver water. In the Penal area, I think the substation is totally submerged at some areas in water, so we have to wait for that water to subside before the TNT crew can get in. Areas along the northeast and north coast are also impacted due to fallen electrical lines as a result of fallen trees, and the TSTT is in the position of deploying cows, which is basically cells on wheels, to bring that augmentation to the telecommunication infrastructure for those particular areas.
You spoke about having a 72-hour response. Was that activated yesterday, and at what time was that activated?
The 72-hour response was activated immediately once the warning was lifted, and therefore our response, our ability to get that situation awareness and then to move into the areas, and the ability of the affected population to be patient even within that 72 hours as the state gather as much information as possible to allow that response and recovery to take place.
You would have given us in previous updates the do's and don'ts during a tropical storm, but what happens after? At this stage, you've had 208 reports across Trinidad and Tobago. What numbers, what agencies can we contact at this stage for persons who may now have an idea of what to do?
Persons are asked to contact the Police Command Center at 999 or 511. They can also contact the Tobago Emergency Management Agency at 211 or the ODPM call center at this location at 800 ODPM. Once those calls are made based on the reports, they are then referred to the respective agencies. Most of them are being referred to the respective disaster management unit of the municipal corporation, who is ably assisted by the Ministry of Social Development, who is taking that data to therefore provide that social need, whether it's food cards or hampers or whatever is needed. And therefore that is how we are trying to reach, but we are collecting that data and we ask the population and those impacted to use those numbers so we can have a record and have that what we call customer care and response coordinator.
It's still early hours yet, but how would you rate the first responders or the ODPM's disaster management response?
All right. I wouldn't say the ODPM, but I would say of the state response. We are basically coordinating. I will give it a very high grade at this point in time, notwithstanding the challenges we are having now with some of the areas that are inaccessible, and it's natural in this sort of hazard impact that we have to wait for the water to subside, even to have some of the heavy earth moving equipment and things that could allow water courses to be open into the area. So while that is on being coordinated, the information for where is impacted is also being coordinated, ably assisted by the Strategic Services Agency Air Division and the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force Air Guard in doing those air reconnaissance at this point in time, so that we can, at the earliest opportunity, launch a full-scale response into those areas.
At what stage do we stop aerial reconnaissance on any given day? Is that dependent upon light and other factors?
It's dependent upon light. We try not to go past 6 p.m. and therefore first light and last light operations. Night operations will be basically on a search and rescue mission if needed, but we will be operating the aircrafts between light hours, first light to last light.
We started the conversation talking about a search and rescue happening in the San Rafael area. Have you had any update on that since then?
It's still being executed, and as you mentioned, and I'd like to appeal to the population, please be careful as you try to traverse areas that are flooded. This particular vehicle attempted to go through the water. Apparently the vehicle stalled, and as a result, we are now coordinating a basically rescue of over 6 persons in that particular area.
How does such a scenario interfere with the response that agencies are trying to coordinate at this stage?
It means, therefore, we are moving resources from one response to assist affected persons, because the team from the engineer battalion that has been diverted were basically en route to assist residents in Carapo with the distribution of relief supplies via the same vessel that is being used. So those persons in Carapo are now on hold as we attempt to rescue those persons and possibly recover the vehicle where necessary, and then be redeployed to their primary operation, which was to carry relief supplies to the Carapo area.
We talk about this, you're also coordinating with, as we have Anessa Hamilton here, who's providing sign language support. Do you have systems in place to assist persons who might be of the deaf or hard of hearing community?
Presently, we are working with some providers to have that system, but we don't have it at present. But we are working very fast on getting something up, so those persons can message in their relief. In light of that, we are asking corporate citizens and neighbors to assist those persons as far as calling and giving the call centers the information, their necessary needs, so we can give some level of response to them.
You talk about informing the media and bringing persons into line with what the response is being done, but I ask a next question going forward. Is social media proving a problem or an assistance for the ODPM right now in its efforts?
Social media is posing an issue for us right now, and as the person holding the chair of ODPM, I'm now basically managing 2 disasters. For instance, this morning somebody posted a year-old photograph or image, video image of Maritime Plaza being flooded. That had a domino effect on persons traveling along the east-west corridor. Maritime Plaza was totally dry when I flew over it at 9 o'clock this morning. So there is mischief afoot to destabilize the population of what is really happening. So we have initiated our information task group, which is monitoring social media, and at the same time as these, what I call false reporting comes up, try to respond and ensure to the population these things are really not happening at the point in time.
Is there a release update that is going to be issued by the ODPM?
Our next update would be at 6 this afternoon, and that will basically advise where we are, what persons need to do in light of floodwaters and all the health issues. The Ministry of Health is also, or has mobilized their medical officers in the areas and start commencing spraying when necessary. But again, our issue at this point in time is the slow runoff of the flood-affected areas.
Flood-affected areas. Captain Wint, you say next update is coming at 6. Is that coming via radio, television? What medium should we be prepared to?
We should be prepared to receive that as a media release. Based on the present scenario, a decision will be taken if it's going to be via this means, live or radio.
Okay. That's Captain Neville Wint. He is the acting Deputy CEO of the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Management, giving us an update there. And sign language support has been provided by Anessa Hamilton. I am Leeron Brumell. We urge you to heed the warnings of the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Management and stay tuned to your relevant media houses to get information going forward. And we'll keep you updated here on CTV. You can also follow us on Twitter at CNews Live, and we're also on Facebook at CNews Live.